guys, welcome back to Proper Chuffed. My name's Hilton and I have absolutely no idea what I'm doing. But that's half the fun of this, isn't it? If you're new here or this is your first time visiting the channel, I hope you enjoy this content, and if you do, please consider subscribing. That would be a great help. If you're one of the returning viewers, welcome back guys. It's good to see you again. I have returned from my very exciting and very expensive adventure in the UK, and I had an absolute blast. Despite having COVID for a couple days, which was very unfortunate and kind of messed up one of the weeks in Scotland, everything went super well and I had an amazing time. In case you missed it, I spent the last month in England and Scotland touring around, doing all sorts of different shenanigans, but especially exploring steam railways and railways in general. I will be putting together a couple little videos just to sort of reminisce on that and discuss my thoughts on stuff like the North Yorkshire Moors Railway in the coming weeks. I have some very exciting news. On a personal level, while we were in Scotland, I decided to finally propose to Annie, my girlfriend, and we are both very, very happy, and it was a very special occasion and a magical day in general. So coming back to South Africa, I've got a new outlook on life, a new approach, and a whole new thing to focus on, which is a wedding. But that doesn't mean I'm letting model trains go anywhere, and that is certainly the case with what happened in the UK. Prior to heading off to the UK, I decided to pick up a couple models and bring them back with me. What started off as 2 or 3 models ended up being a bit of a torrent, but I managed to squeeze them all into my bag and brought them home safely. Or I hope. I haven't actually been able to test them yet because I don't have a layout. I'll be sharing my new layout updates in the next video, and hopefully you guys will be able to see exactly where I'm going with Dun Roman version 2. And I'm quite excited. All the baseboards have been set up and are in the background right now, but I'll be going over that in a little bit more detail in the next video. So let's take a look at this UK haul that I brought in. Now the reasoning behind this was, if I bought these locomotives individually and had them shipped one by one, I would have paid an exorbitant import fee on each locomotive plus postage, which just didn't make sense. Luckily, I had Rob from the Kiln line visiting me in Whitby, so we hatched a sneaky plan for him to bring all the locomotives I had purchased so I could pack them into my bag, and I didn't quite realize just how many I had purchased until they arrived. But we made it work and they all fit in the bag perfectly. I just had to be quite careful with how I was handling my luggage, because I had then all these locomotives packed into my bag while I was traveling around Scotland, which was, you know, quite precarious. But I made it work and they're all home safely. And so today I thought what we'd do is take a look at each of these locomotives. And in future, I'm going to be taking a look at these locomotives one by one on an individual level and doing overviews on them. So I'm quite excited to do that, but I thought it's just too exciting not to share this massive haul with you. So yeah, no jokes, I managed to fit 9 locomotives into my very small bag that I brought back home. I packed very, very lightly for this trip, knowing that I had to bring back a fair few locomotives, but even then it was a bit of a squeeze, and in fact I had to carry the Deltic on as hand luggage. And I got stopped in Abu Dhabi with people thinking that this was some kind of electronic, I want to say the word, but as I tried to explain to the kind gentleman, it certainly is not a bomb. It's a model train. And he looked at me in a very odd way and just kind of nodded his head and was like, okay, cool man, yeah, whatever floats your boat. So I managed to get through with no issues there. But yeah, this is a huge collection and I am really, really excited to get these all sort of DCC fitted. Some of them already are, as far as I remember. A couple of them secondhand, one that I purchased brand new from the National Railway Museum, which is this one here, the Deltic. I have wanted a Deltic for a very, very long time, but I thought what we'd do is go through each of these locos individually, and I just kind of explain my reasoning as to why I purchased it and what it means to me, and then you guys let me know which of them you'd like to see first in the next overview, which I hope will be taking place in the next couple of weeks, hopefully, once the track is down and we can start testing again. So grab a cup of tea, sit back and enjoy a couple locomotives as we sort of explore this collection that I've brought home. Some are a little bit rarer than others, and I'm quite excited to have them in the collection. So without further ado, let's dive straight into it with the first one. So starting first with one of the locomotives that I find probably the most striking, this Class 37. I admit, I do have a bit of a Class 37 problem. This is 37692, the Las or Balachmile, and it was produced exclusively for GMD models. I found this on rails of Sheffield and immediately picked it up and sent it to my mate Rob. I absolutely love the striking coal sector liveries of this locomotive, Granted, it is an older tooling of the Class 37 from Bachmann, in fact quite old, but it is DCC fitted and it looks absolutely stunning and near mint. So I'm really happy to add this to the collection. I've always wanted one of the sector livery Class 37s, so I'm really happy to have this somewhat Scottish 37 in the collection. Next up, we have our first steam engine of the collection, this NRM Flying Scotsman. Now for me, this Scotsman is the quintessential Flying Scotsman. I know that it's not technically accurate that the Scotsman ran in service with the smoke deflectors in apple green. However, growing up in the sort of early 2000s, I remember distinctly seeing Scotsman in this color with the smoke deflectors, and I always loved it. I thought it was the best look for Flying Scotsman. So I couldn't help but pick this one up, and it looks absolutely mint. As you can see, perfect detailing, nothing missing, and overall a really fantastic addition to the collection. I do have a bit of a thing for Scotsman, and weirdly enough, the crazy thing was that in my time in the UK, I completely missed her. I arrived at the NRM 2 weeks after Scotsman was moved to Shildon, and I couldn't change my plans quickly enough to make a plan to get to Shildon. So unfortunately, for the third time, I have missed out on seeing Flying Scotsman in the flesh. So this will have to do. Next up, we have a locomotive that I was kind of warned about, to be honest with you, but it's something that was different, so I decided to pick it up. Of course, if you know me, I like the strange ones. This is a GWR Night Owl from Helgen, and I absolutely love the fact that only 10 of these were ever produced in real prototypical versions. And I've always loved the fact that Helgen have made an effort to produce locomotives that are a little bit rarer. I had been talking for a couple months prior to this about getting a GWR loco, and I was chatting to a couple of my mates on the shunting yard, and all of them love the Night Owl. So I took a look at it, and I managed to pick this up from Olivia's Trains for about £130, which I think is a pretty fair deal. Given it's second hand, I'm not sure quite how it runs, but the weight alone of the box is very impressive. So I'm looking forward to taking a closer look at this one in the future. Next up is my first ever Class 8 diesel shunter, which I'm really excited about. I managed to pick this up from Clark Railworks for about £70, which seemed like a fair steal for me. This is in LMS black, which I absolutely loved. I think this was a limited edition for the Collectors Club. This is Spectre, which I love the name of. I think it's absolutely fantastic. And I don't have an 08, which everyone seems to, so I figured, you know what, it's time to jump on the train, so to speak, and pick up an 08. And I really do think she looks absolutely beautiful and striking in this LMS black livery. So I'm looking forward to putting her through her paces and having her do some work in the yard in future. Next up is another 37. This one from Bachmann, a slightly newer tooling. I think this is the tooling prior to the most recent one that's out. This is in the Europhoenix freight livery, and it's one that I've always wanted. To be honest with you, I've always wanted the Acura scale one, Andromeda more specifically. However, I couldn't pass up a bargain. This DCC sound fitted and TMC weathered version came in at £140 at Clark Railworks, and I just couldn't miss out on it. So I'm really happy to have this striking and very pretty livery in my collection, and looking forward to putting her through her paces. Next up, a locomotive I'm quite excited to get running. Well, who am I kidding? I'm excited to run them all. But this one in particular, I absolutely love the livery of. This is a Helgen Class 33 in West Coast Railways, and this is the weathered version. And as you can see, it is fairly weathered. And it really looks like it's seen some good, dirty, grimy work. And I love the West Coast Railways. Of course, that being the company that services a couple of the West Highland routes. And it made sense for me to add this to the collection because it's a hard-working locomotive that can move rolling stock around and get trains prepared for excursions into the West Highlands. So I'm proper chuffed to have picked this one up from eBay for about £120 and added to the collection. Next up, we have another Flying Scotsman, and this is a absolutely beautiful livery version of Scotsman. This is in her Northeastern Wartime black colors. She does come with additional smoke deflectors, which I may or may not add to the locomotive, but I really like this livery in particular. I've seen this particular model going on eBay for some ridiculous prices in the past, but I was fortunate and quick enough on Rails of Sheffield to have picked this up as soon as it was listed for £110. So I'm very, very happy to add this somewhat rarer Flying Scotsman to the collection. I think the A3s look absolutely magnificent in black, as do the A4s actually. Do need to find one of those in the future somewhere. Regardless, this is a beautiful piece and I'm absolutely ecstatic to have now 2 Flying Scotsmans in the collection. Next up, can you believe it? Another Class 37. This one I picked up from TMC and this is 37012 Loch Rannoch. In particular with this model, I really like the small yellow pinstripe at the top near the roof. This is quite different to the other 37s I have in the same sort of Highland colours. It's particularly special to me to have Loch Rannoch in the collection because it's the place that Annie and I stayed shortly after we got engaged. We stayed at the Loch Rannoch Hotel and the next day we made our way to Curragh Station, which is the most remote station in the United Kingdom. And it was a really special day and a special memory. So to have Loch Rannoch in the collection means a lot to me and I'm really looking forward to running yet another 37 in the collection. So that's 3 37s that I've added now to my ever-growing 37 collection. I have a bit of a problem with this locomotive and I don't know what it is, but I'm obsessed. And here's the big one, the one that cost me the most money because I picked it up at the NRM, which I feel like is slightly overpriced. But anyways, besides the point, this is a Deltic, the DP1. There are 2 options for livery available and I decided to take the East Coast mainline livery, not the as preserved livery. I thought this was cooler because it's sort of the working livery of the locomotive and I am blown away by the detail on this locomotive. Just the cab alone in the interior is absolutely fantastic. I've always wanted a Deltic and I certainly want to pick up one of Curascale's Class 55s in the future, but the DP1 in blue livery to me always has smacked of just awesomeness. I've always loved the presence and the power that this locomotive possesses, and for me to have one in my hands and in the collection now means a hell of a lot. Before I even went, I knew that was the one that I had to get. So I beelined it as soon as we got to the NRM and picked up my Deltic, so I could satisfy myself after months and months of waiting. Interestingly enough, at the time of picking this up, Hornby actually released pictures of their new Deltic, which is coming out early next year, I believe. And I'll probably be picking one of those up too, just so I can compare the Bachmann version with the Hornby one, which will be a double-O. So I'm assuming fully die-cast. Looking forward to doing a comparison on that in the future. But in the meantime, absolutely stoked to have this Deltic in the collection finally. So all of that aside, we've now come to the stage where I show you the other little things that I've picked up. One of them being a gift from Rob, aka the Kiln Line. If you like O-Gauge, go check him out on YouTube. We had an absolutely awesome time in Whitby together with him and his little family, as well as the NRM where we just chatted, looked at locomotives and were just general 30-year-old nuisances. So Rob kindly gifted me his GWR pannier tank. This is a replica railways version and it's absolutely stunning, to be honest with you. I'm really impressed with the amount of detail for a locomotive this old. My plan is to fit this with a DCC decoder in future and get it running on my layout. I've always loved GWR panniers. I think they're absolutely beautiful and it'll be fantastic to have Duck running around the West Highlands in the future. So thank you, Rob. I really do appreciate it, mate. It's a really special gift and it means a hell of a lot to me. So thanks, mate. I was really happy to meet Double O Dave on the North Yorkshire Moors Railway. It's quite a funny story about how we initially interacted with each other because I didn't actually know what he looked like, and I'm sure you don't either. I do have some photos, but I'm going to blur them out when I do my video on the North Yorkshire Moors Railway because Dave's identity is super secret. So I know what he looks like, and you probably never will. Regardless, Dave was kind enough to give me a full set of Pullman coaches from Hornby. I'm holding them like this because they came unboxed and were in bubble wrap. So I was quite delicate with these in bringing them back, although I don't look like I'm being too delicate with them now. I believe they are railroad Pullmans, but I'm really stoked to have them in the collection because I don't actually have a Pullman set. And I think it's one of those things that every steam enthusiast should have in their set, right? So Dave, thank you very much for this very kind gift. It really means a lot to me. And I brought them back safely and they arrived safely. So thank you, mate. It means a lot. But that's not the only thing I got from Dave. I have in my hands an original one-of-one special edition Ladderman, which actually is not all that special because he was the stunt double for the original Ladderman who Dave has rudely kept to himself. So I get the copy, Dave has the original. No, I'm just kidding. Makes total sense. Dave, thank you so much. I'm so excited to have a little ladder man. I'm really stoked to have this little chap. You actually don't know what this means to me. 00 Dave's content is sort of story based around Liberty Junction, his layout. And this little guy here is a very, very important, in fact, if not the main character. So to have this little dude running around done Roman on my next layout build will be anarchy, and I look forward to it. So thank you, Dave. This actually meant a lot to me. I thought it was so cool. I'd love to know what you guys think I should take a look at first from this collection. I hope you enjoyed this video. It's good to be back. Weirdly enough, this video is going out on the same date that exactly 1 year ago I uploaded my first video, and I am now at 1,800 subscribers, and that is mind-boggling to me, like absolutely crazy. I want to thank you all so much for your support. You've all been so good to me, so encouraging and so welcoming of somebody who is not from, you know, the UK, who's modeling UK stuff. You guys have been absolutely fantastic. I've made mistakes here and there, I've got things wrong, and I'm always trying to improve and make my content better for you. I hope you stick with me for the journey, and it's meant a lot that you've already watched and been a part of it so far. Thank you so much for watching. It's so great to be back, and I'm looking forward to sharing more with you in the future. Until I see you next time, keep your engines fired and stay on track. All the best.